Hello, everybody. I can see the conversation is about the heat, and what a mess. Let me tell you, it is going to be very, very hot. It is so good to see all of you. And hello, Barbara Smith. It is good to see you again. There's Mare and Marcia. Laura, hi, sweetheart. It is good to see all of you. So we have some fun things to work on today. We have the fabric pillow bracelets that I found out that Lynn Brown and Quilting Arts Magazine brought those to my attention, and I love my Quilting Arts Magazine. It's the only one I still get, and I do love it. So, we have those bracelets to look at. I finished 2 of them, and I'm going to start a 3rd one. And then we're going to check out the progress I made on the Birdies on a Wire quilt, because it is just adorable. I think you're going to like it. And then, let me see. I'll tell you little things that are going on in my world. And we're going to start our newest Mosaic quilt. And I've just started working on the pattern. And as soon as I finish this pattern, I will put it on our Groups IO site. And if you are not currently a free member of our Groups IO site, feel free to jot me an email to ourtimetoquilt@gmail.com. Now let me put my glasses on and see if I spelled it right. But if you send me an invitation, if you send me an email to that address, I will send you an invitation to join our group. Right now, I have to be honest, with all the weird things that are going on, I could use bad words, but I'm going to try not to. But with all of the mess and destruction that's going on in our country, this site and this show really, really help keep me on an even keel. And I love it. I was talking to another one of our members, emailing one of our members, talking about how much we're getting done because we cannot afford to let ourselves watch the news. It is just too awful to watch. So, and I thought about, should I say anything, because I feel like we've crossed the line with now starting a war, where we had no business starting a war. And there used to be a wonderful agreement, but the last time this president was president, he got rid of it, he canceled it, and then followed another fellow strong-arm person into attacking a country that shows no evidence of having nuclear capability. So, and everybody else out there said, hey, they're being supervised, they're following the rules. But you know, sometimes these certain people, they need distractions. And if a few lives are lost, does that matter? That's what they need is important. But I'm going to cut it down to this, because I can't afford to get started on this. Otherwise, I would crawl into a ball and get nothing done. But I just wanted to say to all who care, arm yourself with the truth. And you know what station, what supposed news station does not tell the truth. And it's time that we say, we're done. We're done. So, but I'm going to leave it at that, because if I talk any more about it, I'll become depressed. Y'all will become depressed. And this has got to be our safe little haven where we can have fun. And so just know that I care. This is very hard. I've still got my I still have my Ukraine flag up. You should see the one on the front porch. It's so faded, but it's going to stay up until the Ukraine is made whole. So anyway, but it's amazing what kind of people start these wars, and it's the individual people who pay the price. So, but anyway, so that's it. I will try. Let's get back into our happy place, because the good news is the last 5 months I've been creating a lot of stuff, and so you've got to look for some silver lining. And the only reason I mentioned it at all is because this is serious, and we all need to care to the ability we have. In fact, I was thinking about it. Well, I'll talk about that later. But this week has been a busy week for me, and I've got good news. I got a second opinion about what to do with my kidney stone, because I only have one little kidney anymore, and it's too big of a kidney stone to pass. And so I told my doctor, I've gotten all this information. It looks like maybe I should just wait, but I said I'm really afraid, because if it's already making itself known, and if it blocks up, I'm in crisis then. So they said they're going to do, now listen to this word, a lithotripsy. And that is where I will lay on a hospital bed, have a water-filled cushion under my back. I will then, under where they position me, is a sonic wave kind of machine that sends out thousands of waves to break up that little kidney stone. And I was very concerned, because I thought, well, what if it damages the only kidney I have left? That gets scary. But Mark was so good. He brought up all kinds of, because he realized it was really bothering me. And he brought up all kinds of different hospital, Mayo clinics. What is the one in Baltimore? There's a wonderful one in Baltimore, Johns Hopkins. And he brought all that up, and we watched videos about it where they walk you through the process. And I thought, I can do this. Hopefully I'll only be at a hospital or a clinic for about 2 hours. Then I can go home and just be normal. So I'm looking forward to that. And I've been working hard on losing weight, and I'm seeing progress. And so that helps. So it's just a matter of, when you reach a certain age, you can't rest on your laurels. You can't take anything for granted. You have to work hard. I never knew it was going to be this much hard work to get old. But getting old is the whole point of this life. And I want that privilege of getting old. So, but anyway, so that's doing good. Let me bring over, I write an agenda each week so that I can keep focused on what I need to do, because we know that I'm easily distracted. So, but I will be having the lithotripsy, and I'm excited, and they're going to put me in twilight sleep, and I might have a little bit of bruising or soreness, but nothing that a little Tylenol won't be able to help. I will have to pass the kidney stones, but they are imaging while they do it, so they make sure they're small enough that it will work. Okay, so in relation to all of this past Tuesday I went in for an x-ray, and I got all dressed up, got my hair curled, got makeup on, and I was in the room, the x-ray room, for like 2 minutes. I told the guy that wasn't worth putting on makeup. So, but I guess that surgeon wanted to kind of look at look at everything, see that stone again, placement of it. So I feel very blessed. I am so fortunate that I have the most wonderful doctor, and she's amazing. And Dr. Lisa, and sadly, at the end of this calendar year, she's going to retire. She deserves to retire, but I'm going to miss her. But I know that as long as I'm with her, I'm in good hands. My last doctor was not so good. She let all kinds of things just sneak by. Turned out she had fallen off the wagon. And so sadly, she's no longer a doctor. But I got a good one this time. And she has made all the difference in my health. So speak up, advocate for yourself. So, okay. So I had the x-ray on Tuesday. We were so busy this week because our little Maisie, the 8-pound toy poodle, got some kind of bacteria. The vet said they didn't know where the bacteria was from. And so it's taken her, she's had to take antibiotics all week and probiotics in her food. We had to, for days, make her rice, and we had to cook chicken. We use unseasoned, just water in the broth, and then use that as part of the rice. She had lost a half a pound. I could feel her little spine. It worried me. So, is there a new person? Ash? Oh, there is Kathy Klein. We love Kathy Klein. And hi, Miss Joe. Oh, it's so good to see all of y'all. And Mare, we'd love Mare. Have you ever made a tutorial on garden flags? No, I haven't. But years ago, I made a garden flag when they were first popular. And now I can find them so inexpensive. Hi, Ashay Armor. Oh, this is about quilts. Oh, gosh. Oh, well. Sorry, I guess Ashay was in a big hurry. But, anyway, and maybe she didn't like the politics, but it's okay because we're in trouble. So, anyway, okay. Well, and some people might not realize this is not just one of those tutorials. We're a virtual quilt group. We're Quilt Bee, and I love that. I love that about y'all. We care about each other, and thank you, Miss Mary. Thank you. Good vibes. Now that's a great pun, Miss Mary, because that's how they're going to break up the stone. I love it. So, anyway, but we are a virtual Quilt Bee, and you know what? It's nice because we've got a vibrant group of very loyal people who care about each other, and it feels good. It's a bright spot in our world right now. So, okay. So Tuesday I went for x-ray. Friday we went to see How to Train a Dragon at the movie theater. Oh my God, I love that. I told the guy, I said, I know I'm a grandmother, but I love that movie. It is so, so sweet. But I forgot to tell you what happened first on Thursday. So we know it's extremely hot out there. And I had a few plants to put in a couple pots on my driveway. I said, I better get them in the ground, get them taken care of before this heat wave gets worse. So I went out and I'm planting the plants, and then I water them, and then it was right warm. I wet down my legs. I was barefoot because I was just right there on the driveway. Then I picked up all my supplies, came walking into the garage, which has a painted floor, and fell. Yes, I did. I fell. It was one of those whoosh, I'm on the floor before I knew what happened. My water glass went flying, my footstool went flying, all my stuff. I'm okay, thank goodness. I've got a good little bruise. Oh my goodness, it's even worse than I thought. And then I've got a bruise on my knee. So I remember hitting my knee and my elbow. But I'm real tickled I didn't break anything. So it is, oh, it was so, oh my gosh. And all I could think, now, is this vain or what? All I could think is the next time I go to the doctor and they say, have you fallen? I gotta say yes, but I'm gonna tell them it was stupidity of wet feet on a slick floor. But it's so funny, so when I fell, I laid there for a bit. I thought, I'm gonna lay and see if anything is damaged. And I laid, finally I was like, help! And Mark came down and I'm laid out on the garage floor. And so, oh God, it was so funny. So I'm laid out on the garage floor, and it took me a while to get up. I was so shaky that my muscles wouldn't work, but I seemed to be fine. It would be great if it broke up the kidney stone. I am very lucky, because when you start falling at this age, but I had to, Mark was going to help me get up, and I'm like, I can't, my muscles aren't working. And so I had to just wait and calm down and then use a footstool and get up. It's like, and get up without putting any weight on my elbow or my knee. But I managed to do it by myself. And then it was like, oh. So, but I did so good the first day. Yeah, I was a little sore, but the second day, oh my gosh, everything hurt. I mean, I pulled muscles that I hadn't even realized I had. So, but anyway, so got that done. All right. So then this week coming up, Gromit's got, he's 13 now, my little dog, my wonderful dog. He's got a vet appointment. And then on Friday, I'm taking a quilt class on Mancuso. I'm so excited. If you would like to do learning, especially now that we're trying to focus on good and happy things, you're a fall risk. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. When you fall, when you're of an age and you fall, your muscles just, everything kind of goes, oh my gosh. I think it's a huge shock to the system. But, oh, no. Oh, no. You know what? Normally when they say, have you fallen? I go, no, but I'm very careful. And they said, that's good. But, but anyway. Hi, Miss Bonnie. There you go, Bonnie. It's like, okay, Deb feels like she has to say this, but I'll ignore it until she goes back. So, but anyway, because, everybody has to find that level you're comfortable with. And I'm not going to try to talk anybody into believing what I believe, because that's a lost cause, just, So just say what makes my conscience feel good and go with it, and everybody do what is best for them. So, okay. So I'm taking a class on Friday, an all-day class. Cannot wait. You do it on Zoom, and it's really, really good. It's good for my soul. And some people say, well, classes, they're expensive. Well, they're really pretty close to the same price you would get at your local quilt shop. I do know I'm very fortunate to be able to do an occasional class. But also, if you were to think of what it costs to get a class at a actual quilt show, and then you have travel, and you might have to stay overnight in a hotel, you've got food costs and all that, it's a bargain. It is a bargain. And I don't even have to spend gas money, So, and stay in your comfortable clothes and have... Aw, thank you, Miss Bonnie. Thank you. Oh, I know what you mean, Bonnie. It's like, it's scary because you just don't know if they're going to be there for you or not. And, that's sad. So, I'll let you know next weekend, next Sunday, about the Mancuso class and what I learned. I'll show you what I've done. So then this week, okay, I know Marcia asked me in an email about the paper bead rollers, because I was watching Rainbow Lane, wonderful Rainbow Lane. Oh, okay, Miss Bonnie. And was watching Rainbow Lane. She's a wonderful paper bead maker. Check out her YouTube site. She was having a problem with like rolling migraines. When she would go to edit her show, she would get a migraine. So she's just starting back, but she's got plenty of great shows on paper bead making. I love paper bead making because it's mindless, it's free. I mean, if you have some school glue and I use most all junk mail, and it's just fun. And so I make up the bead blank, and I'm gonna do it when I get the new handles in. I'm gonna do I haven't done a show on paper beads in years, so I'll do another one. But it's just fun. I love cutting them out by hand, and I love rolling them. There's something very comforting in that activity. And so Mark, on Rainbow Lane's most recent show, she gave us the sources for her paper bead rollers. And it's really fascinating because the metal part that has a slot, it's like a metal cylinder with a long slot in one side of it. And that way you can tuck the paper in and start rolling. And it's a tool meant to tension a joint in metal parts. And so Mark and I started looking, because we can't afford to get anything from England because the shipping is like $17. And I understand anymore shipping is very expensive. So we found some suppliers, some from China and some US, probably most everything from China. God bless them, because we need the supplies. And so we ordered size 4mm and size 5mm tips. Now we got some they came in right away from Amazon, but they were too short. And if you have to take this metal tip and put it in the wooden handle with some epoxy and wedge it in good, that takes about a ½ inch. And then if it's only this big, you take a ½ inch away and you can only make tiny beads, paper beads. And my goal is that I will be selling these, except for Marcia. Marcia gets a free one. But I'll be selling them for about $10 plus shipping, which is a really good deal. And I had to order one from England, and by the time it was shipped here, it was $34. So I thought this would be great, because, I'm always looking for deals for myself and for y'all. So we got the handles in, and once we actually looked at them in person, we thought, nope, let's get the smaller ones so that when Mark drives the metal tip into it, it's a tighter fit. But they're nice, smooth, finished handles. So we went ahead and sent the other ones back, the tips and the handles, and ordered new handles from Amazon of the smaller variety. And then I found on eBay, a source. The metal tips that I wanted are stainless steel. If you get anything less than stainless steel when you're making those beads and the glue gets on it, I've had them where you can't get the bead off. You kind of have to unwind the bead. It's ruined. So I wanted stainless steel. It makes it so much easier to get the beads off the tool. So when they get here, it may take up to July 8th. So Marcia, be patient with me, darling. But they hopefully will be here by July 8th. We've got the handles, and the reason I'm we're going to make them to sell is because you have to buy minimum of 10 each of each size of the metal bits. So I don't need 20 tips. So we said, okay, that's what we'll do. So, but I'll let you know once, and I'll show you how we did them. And, oh, poo. That is, now, Mary, that is such a smart thing. And it's upstairs. So I will definitely show you next week. And it's a nice, comfortable wooden handle with a metal tip coming out of the end. And it's got a slot in it. And that way you put the paper in and you just roll. And so I love the one. She no longer, Rainbow Lane no longer makes them. She did make them for a while, but shipping became the biggest problem if most of her customers were going to be from the U.S. So anyway, I'm excited about that. So they will, give me a couple weeks and then hopefully we'll have them. But I will next Sunday show you a bead roller and just show you a quick thing of how I roll them up so you can see. But it's just something to keep my hands busy in the evening. I cannot just sit on the couch and watch TV. I've got to be doing something. And I don't always want my brain to be in gear. Sometimes I just need to stop that old brain. So how do you remove the bead? So what you do is you start rolling the bead nice and firmly and put glue on the last few inches so that then the bead is rolled and sticks. You just pull it off. And that's why it's really important to have stainless steel so it doesn't stick. So, okay, but I will definitely show y'all. And, you know, I may end up throwing away most of mine, but it's given me a lot of joy for the price of cheap glue. So I like it. All right, I've made necklaces, all that, and I'm going to use some on quilts and all that. But I enjoy them. I've given them as gifts. In fact, Miss Bonnie, didn't you get one of my necklaces years ago? So, okay, so I'll let you know as soon as that's in. Then I have made progress on my birdies on a wire. I'm nearly done with my applique borders on my sparrow quilt. I cannot wait to get that on the quilt frame because, you know, I finished just since January, the end of January. I have finished one sparrow quilt for my daughter and I made another one for me. And as soon as I can get that quilted, it's going to be hung up on the wall. Aw, that's great. Well, you know, Bonnie, oh my gosh, I couldn't afford to give you the gifts you deserve for everything you've done for this channel. Let me tell you. So, the shiny round thing on my blouse, okay, I'll show you, but Bonnie, don't look. I'll give Bonnie a warning right now. So, here we go. I'll show you what it says. I figured today I needed to put something on because I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut, which is hard. It says vote just like driving. Now I can't read it. Vote is just like driving. Hold on, let me pull this thing off so I can read it. But vote is just like driving. To go backwards, choose R. To go forward, choose D. So reverse or D, drive. So that is, and you know, sometimes, whoops, I just have to open up my mouth. Oh well, it's not going to look close. Okay. So let me bring this back over here. And Bonnie, you can listen now, hon. All right, let me come back to the main cam. We also have a free class coming up in July. And it's going to be done through Jitsi, which is like Zoom, but it doesn't have a time limit. It's going to be July 21st through the 25th. Every day between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. and we'll take lunch breaks. Come and go as you want. It's totally free. The pattern is $3.99. That's not through me. The pattern for the class, y'all voted on it, and it's $3.99 through the source. I need to make sure to put that in the bottom of this one. And oh, you're funny, Bonnie. And Bonnie and I both have very strong feelings on things, so it's like, whoa. But let me see. So that the class that y'all chose is called Snails Trail Al Fresco. And I know at Shabby Fabrics has the pattern. There's if you type in Snails Trail Al Fresco, then go and hit quilt pattern, it'll bring up different sources. You should not have to pay over $3.99. Make sure to find a site where you can immediately download and print it. You don't have to pay shipping and sit and wait for it. I'm going to be shopping my stash. I was so tempted to buy fabric. But right now, with me having these medical issues, with the dog having to go to the vet, I was like, you know what? I'm going to shop my stash. So, and if you look at the pattern, I have the pattern right here. If you look at the pattern, I was thinking, well, what if I had found some beautiful fabric that would be really from Marshall's Dry Goods, which most of the fabric is $4.99 a yard, only up to $7.99 a yard, so it's nice. But if you look at this picture from the pattern, it really, I think, wants to be a scrappy quilt. Because there is not a theme. I was thinking, well, is there a place I could use the main theme fabric and then use all the colors to go with it? But there really isn't. You see that? So I said, okay, I'm going to go into my stash and just pick what makes me smile. And you know what? That is a very good thing for life in general. Pick what makes you smile, then you know you're going to be happy with it. All right, so, but I'm nearly done with the applique borders for my sparrow quilt. I've just got to do the cherries along it, and then I'll sew the borders on and put that baby on the frame. I used my, it's not really a long arm. I call it a long arm so you know what it is, but it's only 16 inches, so that's like, I don't know. And it was a stretched machine that I got for $1,800 9 years ago. Best thing I ever bought. So, I love that thing. And it's not fancy dancy like some of those expensive ones. But you know me, I do everything on the cheap. I wanted to show you, we were talking about the pillow beads, the fabric beads. And I wanted to show you where I got the inspiration. And it's by Lynn Brown. And this is an article that came out of, Quilting Arts Magazine, the only one I still get. I love Quilting Arts Magazine, and I'm just, I don't want to violate any copyright, so I'm just and here's where you can even make a necklace. But I wanted to give Lynn Brown and the Quilting Arts group the credit for me seeing this wonderful idea. And so I'm actually going to make a bead with you today to show you. And so while we're talking about it, I'll show you the necklaces. Remember last week I did a little bit of work on it? And I had some good advice. Let me bring my light over. Whoops. All right. Let me see if I can show you. That might be too much light right there. But I did put the triple thick on the beads, and it really, let me see if I can show you some of the shininess. Let me put my glasses on. But I had to take them on and off a couple different times. I'm not sure you're seeing the shininess, but it does make them look like they're little ceramic tile beads. So here is this bracelet, and I'll pop it on so you can see it. I like that fabric. I think it did a really good job with the beads, and you can kind of see the shine. So thank you, Miss Mary. Then I made another one, but I'm going to tell you, this one did not come out the way I hoped it would. It was Jenny Buyer fabric, but the fabric was really dark, and when I put the triple thick on it, it became even darker. So I had used black spacer beads on it. In fact, you know what? I'm holding this up. Let me go to my close-up camera. Now, some people might come in here and say, well, why are you talking about fabric beads when this is a quilting channel? Well, it's both. So, okay. So here is this bracelet, and first I just put the black beads in, but it was so dark and morose looking, and oops, I think it was inside out. But when I put the finish on, it's gotten so dark. So here is this on, and Miss Bonnie, I was thinking of sending this to you. You'll have to tell me if you'd want it, because Mark said that looks medieval. He said it looks like something, you know, Tudor or medieval. And I didn't know if this is something you could wear when you do your, what is it? What do you call SCA, I think? Yeah, SCA. But if you think that this is something that you wear or would like, I will mail this to you. But it's little pillows of fabric, and then you run the elastic from the sides of each bead and put the little beads in the middle. So there. You do love that. Good. I will send this to you then, my Bonnie. I always try to, you know, sometimes things look like something for me. All right. That is going to be for Miss Bonnie. And don't worry if you haven't received a giveaway gift from me, because I'm always looking for new things to do. So, while we're talking about the pillow beads, I'm going to go ahead and do a little demo. And here, and then, oh, and I know I brought this out here because sometimes when current events get too rough, sometimes you just have to grab something nice and squishy. And so my little stuffed animals do a good job taking care of me. So I thought I would bring that down and tell you, when in doubt, you know. All right, so I brought down some beads, and these are cool. They're like frosted beads. And so what you're going to do, and I took this is the Birdie quilt. I took it off the frame, and I had these scraps that I cut off of it. So all you have to do to make these beads is cut anywhere from a 2.5 to 3 inch square. Okay, let me cut this. Then I'm going to fold it, give it a little finger press, trim up the edges a little better. Let me trim, whoops, looks like I need to sharpen some scissors. Okay, hold on just a second. Okay. Alright, I did that off camera so that I could get it closer to me. So here you go. Now I want to warn you something. what you should string the fabric beads, string them up before you put the glaze on them, because they really become very stiff and hard once you've put the glaze on. Also, I like to use a little glue, so I'm using the Better Tacky Glue this time because it holds sooner. But you take, you know what, I'm trying to show you this. Let me put it on a different background. But I took my 2.5-inch square, and I'm going to fold in the corners. Okay, and fold this up right here. Okay, so now, no, sorry about that. That was the pharmacy, because my doctor wanted to put me on weight loss drug, and it's going to be $500 and some for a 30-day supply. No, thank you. So that's why I said I got to take it seriously myself, but I'm not paying that much. And then I heard something on the news about some of these weight loss drugs might be causing vision problems. Well, I don't want that either. So what I did then, okay, so I folded all the corners all in to make a pretty square, then did a few dots of glue and folded it into thirds. Now I'm going to go back over. You don't have to use an iron, but I think it will make it much easier to see. There, okay. Then I'm going to take and just do a couple little dots on here, because if you put too much glue, oh my goodness gracious. Do you see that right there? That is because if you have too much glue on it, you can't get the needle through. And I was using pliers to get the needle through, and the needle would jump back sometimes and jab me. And Mark was like, how can you stand that? And I said, well, it's not fun, but I really want to make this bead work. So now I'm going to find some gray thread here, because I think that'll work pretty good. Let me see something a little bit darker. Oh, that's even better. See, you just take, I like to just, let me bring this down a little. Okay. Alright, let me get the light over. But a lot of times, just take a thread, put it across what you're looking for, and see which one blends better. And I think the darker one does. Okay, so real quickly, I'm going to grab a needle. Oops. Okay. Boy, be careful if you keep a needle on a pincushion too long, you'll get some rust. That's going to make it a little tricky. You know what I'm going to do next time I make a pincushion? I'm going to put some of those moisture beads in it that will keep it drier in the pincushion. Okay. I'll never forget, a couple years ago, I saw on YouTube this amazing seamstress who did this special little trick of putting the thread in her palm and rolling the needle, and then boom, it was threaded, or needle, threaded. I never figured out how she did that. Well, hold on. Now, it's not that I'm getting old and my eyes are getting weak or anything, but, well, this is getting frustrating. Let me try it again. I don't do much hand sewing down here, so unfortunately, I don't have my good needles are upstairs where I do most of my hand sewing. This is why the professionals always have needles threaded before they show you how to do it. Okay, let me get a nice fresh cut and do it on an angle like that. And then Mark is out in this heat cutting grass, but luckily he has a riding lawnmower that's now 21 years old, and it keeps going, so thank goodness. Alright, now we've got it threaded, and you know what? Making a clean cut on an angle was a good thing. Okay, that did the trick. Alright, so I'm just putting my knot on. Honestly, today, I mean this week with me falling and the dog being sick and all of that, I didn't get as much done as I had hoped to. And so I said, well, I'll just show them while I'm doing it. And, okay, come on. Oh, I know. I'm trying to slide the knot down, but that little rough spot on the needle is causing a problem. Okay, so here is the bead. You don't have to use any glue, but I like to use glue because I feel like when I use the glue, it helps hold it for me so I don't have to have a pin there. But you go in on the inside, bury your knot like this, because you don't want the stitches to show any more than they have to. Okay, so then, okay, so now I'm on the outside here. I go back across and under, back across and under, and come out the other side. And the reason I do the stitches this way is because then I can kind of pull them snug and they're less noticeable. Okay, if I did it an easier way, if I just whip stitched along the top, you would see them very clearly. So see, when I get ready to go back across, I go under that edge like that. Okay, so I just kind of keep going in and grabbing. Now, I call this a ladder stitch. I'm not sure if other people would agree, but just kind of going back and forth, across and under, kind of looks like a ladder, I think. So, you notice what side I started on. This is the folded side right here. In fact, let me turn this back off. Sometimes I turn on a light to make it more visible, but then over time it darkens. Alright. So what I do is carefully hold the edge and then pull, because you will break the thread if you're not careful. Alright, then I come back over here, grab that outside edge from the inside, and I was showing you earlier, and just press the bead together when you pull the thread taut. See how that works? And you can see that you can't see the stitches, and that's nice. But this is the folded side that doesn't need sewn. So I start this way because I work that direction. And what I do is I'm going to go around all three sides. Okay, so I'll just grab this again. Okay, yeah, there we go. And then go through this again. Okay. Whoops. It grabbed the thread that was on the spool. Alright, so here now you get to this. You go down, under, right there. You just do the same kind of thing. Just grab a little bite here. Just a couple threads. It's all you need. And you do the same stitch, and you do this outer piece, not just the inner piece, because you want this little pillow, as they call it, to stay neat and tidy. And you don't want any of the fabric kind of coming undone. Let you go. This. Alright. And like I say, pinch it tight to pull it tight so you don't break your thread. Because, you know, it's tempting to crank on the thread to get the thing really tight, but trust me, it's not the best way for it to work. I'm going to move a little closer to the light. Hold on just a second. Alright, I don't want to get in any shadows. So now we're almost done, but this reminds me of English paper piecing, where it's real easy to just sit and relax, especially in this heat. I hope all of your air conditioning is working during this, because it's going to be very, very difficult. Alright, so my last side real quick so then I can show you. Okay, and you and make sure it doesn't catch on any of the corners, that you don't have any thread sticking out, because sometimes it'll catch over the corner and then show, and you want to catch it as soon as possible so you can tighten it really good. Okay, so quickly just grab the inside of that and go. Whoops. My daughter this summer, you know, she's a teacher, so she's got a part-time job for the summer, but then with the rest of her time she's making clothes for herself. And she said, Mom, I didn't realize how much I like sewing. And because I was always sewing when they were growing up. So each of them learned how, I guess by osmosis. And but it's nice to see her. You know what she's doing, because she's always on a budget. Poor teachers, you know, they're at the bottom of the pay scale. But she goes to Goodwill and thrift stores and buys sheet sets or sheets. And then she makes clothes from the sheets, because she said they're so inexpensive, and she finds that, you know, the design she wants. She made a pair of shorts out of a just comfy wear at home shorts out of a striped set of sheets. They look really cute. Alright, so now I'm back at the end, and I'm going to show you how to finish this bead off. And now, if you have the Quilting Arts magazine, and I think it was the Quilting Arts magazine was Spring 2025. And if you can look up Miss Lynn Brown's article, she does hers slightly different. Now see, I've done all the stitching, okay? Now what I do now is I'm going to take and make a knot not all the way at the bottom of my thread, but very close to it. And I'll show you why. Okay, maybe about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. And there it is. Real close. Whoops, why does it have a loop? Oh well, good enough. You know what, since it's a nice tight little loop, I'll just trim it. And the reason I have the knot a little bit away is because I'm going to put the needle through, and I'm not going to come out the easy other side. I'm going to come out through the fabric, because that way I bury my knot inside the little bead. Now I can trim it off here, and then it's nice and secure, and the knot is tied. And then you can squeeze the bead to make it a little more pillowy, like this. So then what you do next is you're going to have, I found that 9 beads were about right for my wrist. Ooh, this might be too big. I think I'm going to have to find some smaller ones. Because what you do is you get some elastic and you run a piece of elastic up here when I say elastic, I mean the beading elastic. Yeah, I need smaller beads. But you run elastic, you go in through here near the edge, come out through this side near the edge. So you just go right through this, put a bead on each end. Then you come with another piece and go right in through here and come right out through here. And that's how you get the bracelet. Okay? And then if you want to, you can put some of the triple thick or whatever kind of acrylic sealer you have, or you might want, this one looks more like denim, so I might leave this natural as it is. So it's up to you, but I think you can see here that these beads are a little too big for it. Now, one thing I could do, I just thought of something. I could run the 2 pieces of elastic thread through here. Let me turn off this phone. It is going to drive me absolutely batty. Okay, I hate telephones, honestly. Okay, now it's turned off and thrown in the basket. What if you took the 2 pieces of elastic, ran it through here, then ran them both through this one bead, then come back out and go through the next bead, then come back together, so that you would have, let me find 2 different color beads. Well, I don't know. I think I just need smaller beads. So I'm going to have to go up and look through my bead collection. But, because honestly, I thought these were pushing it a little on that. So, I will do that. But now, I brought down some of my flosses, because you can take and stitch across, stitch diagonally, stitch around each side of these beads, and just to give it a little more design. So you could even do that and not put beads in the middle, but you could just take your floss and do little designs. So that is how to make one of those pillow beads. And the neat thing is, by using fabric, you can have it match an outfit. You can make whatever you want, because you just look for your fabric scraps at home. But I like how this looks denim-like, because this is it will make a nice casual bracelet for me to wear if I find the right beads. Alright, so that part is done. Now let's look at these birdies on a wire, and then I will come back to our mosaic. Alright, so what I'm going to do is come up a little bit here. Let me move some of these things. I'm using these for the birdies on a wire too, so I'll show you that. And bring this over, close up my glue. I'm terrible about remembering to close my glue, and then it gets real thick. Okay, so what I'm doing now, okay, here is my birdies on a wire. I want to thank Connecting Threads. On the Connecting Threads site is where I saw this cute pattern, cute pattern. And they still have some of these kits. They were on sale, and they have the wool birdies and the rest of this fabric. And I said, well, I wanted my birdies to look a little different, so I didn't want to violate copyright laws. So let me clip this little thread. Alright, so what I did is, how can I take some of their inspiration but make it my own? And the ways I did that is having the branch across here, then doing my own birds and my own numbers of birds to make them look different. And then I beaded my flowers and did my own design of flowers, and then my own kind of edging. So now it becomes my inspired quilt. So what I did this morning is I quilted it, and you can see here, when I have a busy quilt like this and it's appliqued and beaded, I just do just a nice meandering little relaxing quilting on it. And I actually did across some of my hand embroidery, but then I came back and took, like right, nope, I already took them all out, looks like. I came back, and anywhere I crossed over to make the design, I cut that stitch so it wouldn't press these hand embroidery stitches down. But I love the little beads on the Queen Anne's lace. I also like how I ran it out into the border off of, the edge. And so I've quilted the back and forth even into the, I don't know if you can see it, but I have quilted into this border. Then when it came to how do I handle the birds, I try never to quilt over applique. So what I do is an outline stitch to quilt, and it's so cute. It puffs up my little birds. My little birds have more character now. And I will go back, and there's some places where I made messy stitches, and I'll take out the unnecessary. If I'm doing a big quilt, I'll put safety pins where I make a mistake, so I can wait till later when I'm off the frame, and then I can pull out the stitches that weren't supposed to be there. But I just did around the birdies and their beaks. I did around the flowers that I had finished, like that. And one of the problems I'm having right now, okay, let me show you what I'm doing with this border. I've already done the bottom, and let me show you. This, I am going to take this border and bring it to the back and tuck it under, not quite a half an inch. And then I'm going to come along and slip stitch this. So this is what this border will look like. It's got the front part, and then it turns over to the back and stitch it down. And that way I don't have a sharp border. It's something I like to do every once in a while. So then, once I did that, and the bottom and the sides are going to be 3 inches from the edge of the sky, 3 inches. But the top, I had started doing these leaves, and I realized, whoops, that I need to make 3.5 inches. So what I did is I took and measured from this part of the sky up 3.5 inches. Then I took it and I folded it up. I actually made marks along this quilt and folded it on the 3.5 inch mark, and make sure I've got it all lined up. Then I came and gave it a hard press, nice hard hot press. Now, it would have been nice when I was on the frame if I had drawn a line to know where not to quilt, because to make this work, I've got to have a line on this. I've got to have a line that I can cut away the batting and the backing, so that then, whoops, let me press this. This got messed up, but I can then cut away this excess batting and backing, so that then when I fold this over, I get a nice smooth edge to stitch down. So unfortunately, since I didn't draw the line, I was trying to guess and I got a little carried away. And the problem is, if this is sewn like this, I've got to get it apart so I can separate the batting and the backing from the front part that I leave. So just find whatever way works for you to quickly take out these stitches. In fact, you know what? This is the fastest right here, because even if I rip this back fabric, it's going to be cut off anyway. So yeah, this is pretty fast. Alright. Okay. So now that I've gotten that far done, I can come back along here and cut it loose. Making sure you're not cutting the front, you're only cutting the back. Like this. So, this is what I have left to do. And there's one more thing I want to show you that I need to do. But you got to make sure that you know exactly where to cut the batting and the backing off so that you get a nice crisp line to bring this around to the front and then tuck under, around to the back and then tuck under and do a nice invisible stitch there. So that's what I've got left to do, and the same thing on the sides. I will have to take this side, and I've got my ruler, and I'm going to go 3 inches, and at that point for the 3 inches I'll make a line, and you know you just need 2 points to make a straight line. 3 or better, but here we go. So now I take and I wanted something that was really going to show. So here I've got my line right here, and then what I do, just like I did with the side, I want to have a crease mark so I know what stitches to take out. Make it a little easier on myself. I wish now though I had taken one of my chalk markers and marked 3 inches away, so that way I wouldn't even have to go through all of this. And just remember, this fabric stays. You do not cut the pretty fabric that you're going to wrap around. You only cut this part, right? The backing and the batting here. And you cut it right even where that fold was, because you want a nice crisp even edge, and don't cut the front that folds around. Make sure you know right where you're cutting, and then that way this will be able to fold up and go down. Now another thing that I haven't shown you yet is that, okay, how do we do these corners? So let me trim, pretend this is all trimmed just right. Okay. So this is, pretend this is all trimmed exactly where it should be. Okay, so you're going to be folding in on the side here, you're going to be folding in on the bottom. Well, you don't want all of this fabric in that fold. That's just too much. So right where the fold is on here, this side, and the fold is on this side, take it, fold it to that point, and then you've got all of this from the middle. So what you're going to do now, believe it or not, is you're going to cut this off, cut the excess off. Then that way you fold these in, and when you fold them over, guess what? You've got your own version of a miter. And you just make sure that you've got it folded right on the square. Then you just tuck this under, and you stitch, and that way you don't have so much fabric in the corners. Okay? All right. Oh, thank you for putting Meltum's shop. Oh, Joe, that's so sweet. I love it. Thank you. So, anyway, hopefully you get a chance to, I'm hoping that it's not too confusing, that you see how do you, and you can leave this one down as it is and just bring this over at a 45-degree angle because it just looks so nice. So nice. All right. So I've got these edges to handle, get rid of all this excess. Then this, as long as it's about 2.5 inches wide, these, yep, exactly 2.5 inches, I can make beads out of these scraps because this is the fabric. I said, look at these scraps I have. They'll make great beads. So, once I get these all folded in, these sides folded in and stitched down, let me do this one too. Fold it in, and it'll be stitched down. Let me bring this up a little. Then this will be done, except I have a couple more little leaves to quickly stitch down into place. So I will make sure those leaves get stitched down, and then I decide how do I hang this. How am I going to hang this? So and where am I going to put it, and how am I going to do it? So there we go. So this is our wonderful Birdies on a Wire. I have my version on our Time to Quilt site. Just make sure by the time you finish this, it's perfectly square. Okay? So just line it up with rulers and make sure it's perfectly square. But I love these little birdies. I just think they're so cute. So whichever way you go, it's a fun little quilt. And I love embellishing. That's one of the reasons. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. The one thing that I still, besides finishing sewing down those leaves and doing the edges, I want to come back with floss and make little leaf stems that tie into the branch, and use some of this to do the veining, to give them a little dimension, like stitch right across here like a vein. So that to me is why I wanted to do this project, because I love when we embellish quilts. I think it's so much fun. All right, so here we go. I will now put this away, and then, all right, and you know, believe it or not, this will go in my scrap bag. That's big enough to do applique, and would make a really nice berry too. Okay, so now I think I don't need this. Let me put this back up. All right. I like to try to stay neat because, oh my goodness, I'll make a mess if I don't. All right. Now, and I brought this down just to show on our website, if anybody really wanted to do a little miniature dollhouse of a sewing room, I brought this down to show you. And on our Groups IO, I put a connection to a nice inexpensive, well, relatively inexpensive, but boy am I addicted to these things. I love them. So I'm going to set this out of the way. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Now, oh, my daughter was looking for extra jobs for the summer, and so I said, hey, would you like to do some painting for Mark and I? And she said, sure. And I said, we will pay you well because, you know, painting is hard work. So what I did is I went on Amazon and found this inexpensive, we have a day bed and a trundle in there. And I wanted to get a nice cover. We've never had any kind of real bedspread except the one we bought it used and the one that came with it, which was awful. This is one of the pillow shams of the grouping that I chose. Becky helped me choose this, and I just thought it looked like watercolors. It just looks nice and summery. So I've been looking at paint colors, and I'm thinking of using the lightest of this bluey gray for the walls. So I've got to get my paint and ready for Becky to do the painting for us. So yeah, something like this light blue-gray I think would be great. Alright, so I just want to let you know that's going on too. Alright, now let's take a little trip to see the mosaics that I'm thinking about starting the new project with. Okay, so let me come back to desktop. Okay, this is, I just loved when we did a pond scene, a koi, a couple years ago, and it was done as a mosaic. And I thought, you know what, that would be fun to do another mosaic. And now this one is all higgledy-piggledy, but I was thinking, what if we took the mosaic and put it on a graph paper grid? And that way it would be much easier to figure out how we want to do this. So I then said, okay, we did the kois and the koi pond before. What would we do for this year? So I said, well, you know what? It is summer. How about we do sunflowers? Because there's something really happy about sunflowers. So here is, I love this. Now this is a sunflower that has, even the leaves in the center are all mosaics. Okay? And so let me look for another one, because there's two different ways. Now this one, it's mosaic too, but it's larger pieces here with the small pieces in the background. All right, here's another one. Little smaller pieces for the sunflower, nice and small pieces for the background. I love the little orange border down here, the green leaves. I love the blue in it. And look, you could put beading in the center. You could put just any number of things in the center. Here is another one. And these are small pieces here. Let's see. Oh, I thought that was pretty. Just sea glass trying to make. So I tried looking, okay, and then I went to, I think it was Etsy, and bought some designs of sunflowers. And so let me show you one sunflower that caught my attention. I like multiples. And then, whoops, come on. Isn't that pretty? But that's just a little too, that would take a long time to do. So that's a nice thing to think about. Oh, Cheryl Lynch has become famous for having her mosaic quilts. Isn't that cute? And I love the like clouds through the sky, giving some motion to her flowers. So I looked at all these to get ideas. You know me, I love to cull and pick an idea from this and put it there. This one made me think about using graph paper and having them all laid out. And so some of them might be like a half square triangle, see how the line goes through here. But they're all on the same grid. I thought that would make it easier. From this picture, I loved how they put darker colors around the edges of the flower to really make it pop. Now let me go the other direction. I want to make sure I've shown you everything that I was thinking about. Okay, we've looked at all these. Oh, here it is. Okay, this sunflower right down here is gorgeous. That caught my eye because look at the movement. It is just so pretty. So I thought, aha, that's going to definitely be one in our work. This one, right down left corner. Then I like, let me see, was there anything else in this? I like the rings around the center to give more interest. This is kind of cute. So I'm thinking I want to do a couple. I just like the look of several. I love the leaves. I love orange border to kind of bring out some pop. I love the blue with all that yellow because then you're getting into complementary colors, so they really make themselves pop. All right, there's this one, but that's just not mosaic looking enough. But I love the color of orange in here, and you could do it either way. This is just as fine as that one, but I love the multiple colors of the blooms. So what do you think? Take care, Meltem, hon. It is so good to see you. Okay. We love our Meltem. Okay, so I was just looking at different mosaics and stained glass. This is so pretty too. But let me show you one that I'm this. Okay, here is a grouping. It's cute that one's turned away, but I don't really need that. And if you know anything about sunflowers, they all turn to face the sun. So you're not going to have one face the wrong way. They are photosensitive and they track the sun during the day. So they move around. So, I bet you Turkish nights are beautiful. So this is what I'm going to use to design. And it's not going to be exact because I do my own work. I love the edge, the color of the border around the edge. I love a little bit of blue. I'm thinking instead of the tan here, I would do off-white clouds, like, I'm going to do the stream of blue, stream of clouds, stream of blue, stream of clouds. I like that this has a little bit of ground in it, that it's dark enough to make the leaves pop. But let me show you now what I'm thinking to get this to work for us. Okay? So what I've got here is I've got the drawing on my screen that I just showed you. Then I printed out some free, print out free printable graph paper. And because I didn't want to be a crazy person, I had it print 2 squares to the inch, which means each square is a 1/2 inch. Okay? Then these will be put together to make this quilt, because I'm going to continue with my idea of keeping things smaller so they're faster and easier to do and don't need as much space to display them. So here is page 1. Oops, did I? I folded the wrong part, but I guess it's... All right, this side gets folded because what I do is I don't want you to have to pay to get a drawing enlarged. I want you to be able to print it yourself and work on it. So I tuck that one piece under, and let me get my tape. And then what I'm going to do, and do not tape on the front. If you tape on the front, you cannot draw or color, you know, to see what you want. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to trim most of this folded part off. And the reason is I want to give plenty of room for the tape to stick. So I don't want this folded and then it's hard to make it stick. So but folding is the fastest way to mark this edge, and then it's easier to cut. Okay? So now I'm going to take, this is page 1, and I'm going to come up. This is page 2. Alright. So I'm going to line these lines up, make sure it's lined up both crossways and lengthways, like this. And you know what I'm going to do too first? This is a little trick to make it a little easier, because you tape from the back, but you don't want the pages to have moved. So you put just the tiniest little bit of glue. And this is where a glue stick would work really good, because it won't make the paper wet. But you tack this down like this. Okay. Now you can flip it over without them moving too much. Flip this over. Whoops. Come on, tape. A tape tried to sneak away. You know, one of the problems I have is I'm so cheap that I buy the cheapest tape, and then it doesn't either stick well, or it's hard to work with the tape dispenser. So now I've taped this, okay? Now, if I take this back apart to print it, what I would do is, let me just, I creased the wrong area and I want to, there we go. So, if I had to take it apart, I would draw orientation lines. So when you put it back together, boom, there you go. All right. So, and I would do the same thing here. Cut these off. Cut this one, this one, this one, and then tape those together. So I'll have all 4, and mark the numbers on them. All right. But for right now, what I did is, let me bring the light back over here. What I'm doing is taking a pencil, nice sharp pencil, and just trying to get this in line the best for right now. And then come over here, and there's going to be a flower. I'm going to mark around it. Sometimes I do the initial drawing on one size sheet of paper and then enlarge it. But this time, because of the graph paper, I'm going to draw it directly on the graph paper. So I would just come in here and I'm going to do some basic outlines. One thing I really like with this, I was first going to be really religious with making everything on here have to break into a 1/2 inch piece. But now that I've seen some that have the full piece, so like if this is a petal right here, okay? Now for you to really see this, let me grab that marker back. But to have this piece like this, this be one piece, and but still have all around it the little mosaic, the little mosaics. So what do you think? And I guess each person could decide for themselves, but like, have these be one piece of material, which would be great to have, the different colors. Now, how do we get the different colors? And if you had the right kind of fabric that was like an ombre, you could do that. But here are the petals. You decide whether you want, because see, that'd be a lot of little cutting to try to make it. So if you did, what you might want to do is do the background first and then do these and just lay them on top. Now what I was thinking of doing, which is what we've done before, is pick out what color you want your grout to be on this. And the grout is picture you've got little tiles, little ceramic tiles, whatever goes around each one that locks it in place. And you could use a brown, tan, I might use black. Black is very striking, but with these colors, maybe a nice deep or medium brown might be nice. But in the background, I would want to have the sky come through like this, so you would know where the colors. So this could be blue here, and then have like a swath of white come back through here. And you can put W for white and B for blue. And so, and I'm thinking too, going ahead and making a color copy. Copy what you want. I'll have the basic with this drawn out on the graph paper, so you'll be able to see. Then you can take your own crayons or colored pencils, and you can go ahead and do the coloring as you would want to do. But I think not having these cut up into little tiny squares is very doable. And let me go back and show you that picture again, because I think it's really, really pretty. And here it is. So you could have the small back, not that small. We don't want to be here forever. But then the flowers can look like one piece of stained glass or mosaic tile. And I would make it so that there was enough black around each piece, or tan or brown, whatever. Make it so it really, because this kind of loses that mosaic look. Where, see this one? It's got that mosaic look. See how each piece has some of that grout around it. Okay? So, think of how you want to do it. I love this center, because that center mimics all the little sunflower seeds that would be in the center of that flower. So I'm thinking, yes, leave those as little pieces. And we're going to have to cut circles, so we're going to have to, make some kind of concession to that. And yeah, these, have supposedly show little pieces in the center. But I love the leaves, and see how using the different color fabrics. Now, what I've decided to do is, last week I asked y'all, we had a nice new gal join us who suggested that I use a lightweight fusible, and in the purple package, and right now I have forgotten the name of it, but the good news is I remembered it and ordered it, and it's supposed to be here by Tuesday. And she says I would probably have better luck sewing because, see, what we're going to do is two different ways to do this. Two different ways. I'm going to come back to the main camera so I can look at you when I tell you what I'm thinking. See, we're doing this on the fly, you know. That's how I like to work. We do it on the fly. All right. Heat and Bond. Thank you, Mitty. So I ordered some Heat and Bond Light. And because I know that the Steam 2 was just too goopy, my sewing machine did not like it. It wasn't happy at all. So what I'm thinking, there's two different ways of doing this. We need a piece of muslin, or no, actually, pardon me, take that back. You need a piece of fabric, the overall size, which will be double this. So 22 by 16. 17 by 23. Let's say that. 17 by 23. 4 pieces of paper taped together. All right. You need to choose a fabric that's going to be the color of your grout. So whether you want that to be tan, black, brown, blue, whatever your grout's going to be. Because what I want to do to make this easier is to make each piece a little bit smaller, like the green leaves, each little green 1/2 inch square, just slightly smaller, to have the grout show through. So what you can do is this. I've seen people take, and I'm not going to do it this way, but you can take and put the fusible over the fabric background, and then put the little pieces of fabric on place. But you know, we're going to be using Heat and Bond, and that's not sticky like Steam 2. So what I'm going to do is take and choose all the colors. Colors for the sky, colors for the clouds, colors for the petals, colors for the center, colors for the leaves, colors for the ground. I'm going to take and try to estimate how much I need of each color. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the fusible on the back side of each of the colors. Then once that has the fusible on it, then I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and I'm going to cut them into their little 1/2 inch, slightly under 1/2 inch size. Then that way I will take tweezers, put them in place, and that way you can iron them on one at a time. I have a little tiny applique iron that I bought used years ago, and that way I can even iron them down. But don't forget that when you use fusible, you have to sew it down. Now, there's 2 ways of doing that. You could just sew across the center of all these dots, and since it's going to be on a grid pattern, that'll be pretty easy to do. You can just start and go sew right down through the middle. Or you can take and put some tulle, some very fine netting, over the entire piece and stitch it down, because fusibles don't last forever. If your temperatures, handling it, whatever, sunlight on it, it can cause it to let loose. And when I was doing the Birdies on a wire, oh yeah, even though I fused them, they didn't really like the wool, and they kept wanting to come off. And so finally I got my good old tacky glue, and I glued them down. And but what I'm going to end up doing then is having a big like platter or plate. In fact, I might use one of my Christmas plates that has all the little sections. Put each section have a different color fabric, so I can kind of do like paint by number, but with little fabric squares. And then we'll press them down, and that way I'm probably going to do it on black, so the black grouting will show through very easily. but use whatever works for you. You can even use tiles for the center of the flower, little pieces of tile, or beads to sew on, whatever makes you happy. You could even, if you wanted, use dry lentils or dry barley or whatever, although do know the moths are probably going to go after that. But I just want you to kind of think outside the box and decide what you want to bring to this quilt. And I think it's kind of going to be fun. It's like a paint by number. It's more relaxing. We've done stuff like this before, but I think that the real answer to this, I'm hoping, is the fact that we're putting it on graph paper. So, like, you'll see where there's a line, if a leaf, you might have to have 2 partial squares to make the color change. But at least you've got the squares and you know right where everything. And if you take your pattern and you color it what you want based on your own fabric and how you like it, then you'll know right where to put each one. You just have to match up the colors to your fabrics. Make sure that the back of the fabric has the fusible so that you can then cut them in little squares, put them down, use a little iron, whatever, to just hold them there for a moment. Now, let's say you don't have heat and bond and you don't want to buy heat and bond. Get yourself some glue, especially if you have a little tacky glue. Put a little dot. A little dot will do it. What actually I would probably do is use, if you have a little squirt bottle that has a real fine little tip, then thin it a little and just do around the edge. That way you can still sew down the middle and get that done. Now, you don't have to quilt it down the middle. You could decide to do a swirl design, but each piece is going to have to be sewn down or have tulle across it. So that's why I thought that I'm just going to come through on the grid and just sew a diagonal through the middle once everything is put on, and then we're set. All right, any questions? Oh, a deviled egg tray, an egg carton. Got an empty egg carton? I mean, I know those eggs are quite expensive, even though supposedly the price came down 87%. No. So anyway, okay. So I'm hoping that will help. I will have this pattern put on the website in the next few days during this week, because by next weekend I'm going to have my background fabric and I'm going to have a good supply of little 1/2-inch squares to put on the background fabric to make my mosaic. Okay? And I'm going to cut them out to 1/2-inch squares, and then I don't know, I'll see. I want the background to show like the mosaic, because that's what's really going to catch your eye. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Now I'm going to go to, let me see. I think I already told you about 4-hour class, July 21st through the 25th, free class, and you just send me an email if you don't belong to our groups IO. I'll send you a link. We're going to have each day, we're going to have it recorded, so if you can't be with us, you can catch up with it. And I want to make it very clear that you don't have to work on this quilt. The quilt, you don't have to buy the pattern. If you say, I've got enough projects to work on, bring one of those with you and work on it while we're sewing. Because it's a chance to chat. You don't have to type. You just chat. And it's just a chance to have fun. And you can either bring your lunch to the computer, or you can say, I'm taking a lunch break. Or if you only have time to pop in and out, that's okay. Whatever works for you. It's just a way to have fun, to reach out to each other and to have fun. And it's a class that you can take, because I realize how grateful I am to be able to take the Mancuso virtual classrooms. It's a chance to me to pay it back and give y'all a virtual free class. And so that is a lot of fun. We cover a lot of different skills, hints, and tips while we're doing it, and everyone is welcome. I'm going to type my email address in one more time, y'all. And our time to quilt, and it's at gmail.com. All right, I think I got it right. And send me an email, and I can either sign you up for our list or tell me I want to take the class, and I'll send you the link when it's time for the class. And if you are going to make the Snail's Trail alfresco, I ask that you have the pattern that you need and have your fabric cut out and ready to go. If you can't, it just is not as much fun, because you feel like you're always playing catch up. But if you have the fabric cut out, then we're ready to work on it. I know that this supposedly requires 2 rulers. I will make sure that you have something you can cut out to act as a template, or I'll make sure. I don't want you having to buy new rulers. So I am over buying a ruler for one class. I'm just over it. And during our class, I will show you my worst ruler purchase ever. And it was 30 bucks. So I will show you that when we do our class. But I'm not going to buy rulers anymore for just a quilt class. Bad way to spend money. So if it's a quilt that I know I'm going to make more of, I'll buy the ruler, sure, but not for just one and done. All right, everybody, now it is time. So I told you all about the class. You can find that pattern. I'll put a link when we're done down in the show. Okay. And I still haven't written what I want to do this summer for fun, but I know it's going to include some fabric dyeing, like ice dyeing. I know it's going to include some paper making. I'm going to dry some of the pretty flowers. I know it's going to possibly include some indigo dyeing. And I'm thinking that when I do that, it would be fun to do it live. So we'll see. But summer is fun time, and I want us to have fun. So now let's go to show and tell. Maisie, hush. And let's go to show and tell. And if you want to participate in the Mosaic quilt, but you want to do your own thing, go for it. You know, I'm all about do what makes you happy. So Mark, I think he's about done cutting the grass. I love the way cut grass smells. All right, show and tell. Okay, here we go. Oh, I actually have some photos. Oh, and I need to write to BB. I want to remember our BB. And with everything going on in the world, I'm pretty sure she lives in Turkey like Meltem does, but she is Iranian, and I just want to let her know that we're thinking of her. All right, I'm going to bring up, I actually have some pictures to show. So here we go. I am so excited. This is my Becky, this is my Katie, and they're at our favorite lake. When I was a little girl, every summer we went to the lake and had our vacation. And oh my gosh, the best, just the best. And so when I had my own children, I said, we're going to the same lake. And it's in North Carolina and Southeast Virginia. and it's called Car Lake, and I love it dearly. And the water's still very high. There were a lot of spring showers, and so the water's still high. So they're sitting there. It's very hot today, but as long as they're in the water in the shade, they're happy as clams, pun intended. So here is Becky and Katie, and I love how they have a table with their drink, and they're just having a blast. Katie drove all the way down from the eastern shore of Maryland, and Becky came just a couple hours from here in North Carolina. And I wouldn't be able to handle that temperature, so I miss it. Here are some pictures of the progress I'm making on Katie's wedding quilt that's only 16 years late. I mean, come on. And but every day I try to go in the sewing room upstairs and work on it. And so I've got my melons and I'm doing all the components, then putting the components together. And that, to me, it goes a lot easier because I can do chain piecing. But then my kids were at the No Kings March last weekend. I'm so proud of them. So proud of them. Evan decided to cut his hair. He has not had a real haircut in probably 5-6 years. I don't know. But I wanted to show you. Isn't that great? I just love it. He's getting ready to be a senior in high school this year, and he loves marching band, which is just warms my heart because I was a huge marching band member. So, and then here are my girls. Here's Becky. There's Katie at the lake. So, oh, I just love. They both brought tents. And that's their little way to kind of celebrate. I think I might, let me see. Yep, that was it for these. Now let's go back to show and tell. Debbie Holt sent some new pictures. Please feel free to send any pictures of your garden, something about your life you'd like to share, your quilts, anything. If you paint, if you cross stitch, we love all forms of arts and crafts. But here is the latest vignette that Miss Debbie puts up in her hallway. I mean, it's a wonderful way to decorate for the season, and I'm sure it makes her smile every time she walks up. And I love her quilts. I love this. This is a deck walkway to the beach through the sand dunes. Look at this wonderful, it almost looks like a Carolina lily. Beautiful flowers on that quilt. And then the summertime arrangement. So thank you, Miss Debbie. And I love that, to me shows a joy of living. Then look at this cool quilt. Quilters never cut corners. That's cute. So I love that one. And then look at this. Those colors are amazing. And also amazing is look how big Chloe has gotten. She has grown so. Look at her. And she definitely wants to help Mama with that quilt, which is awfully nice of her. But isn't that a nice quilt? So thank you, Miss Debbie. And look at her wonderful sewing area up in the loft. Oh, I bet you that's wonderful. And I love that she has a comfy chair there. I love that. So, oh, that is beautiful. All right, now who is next? And I think it's our Miss Mary. Yes, got to see Miss Mary's doll that she made. We did this a few weeks ago, and look at the cutie pie doll that Miss Mary made. Look at it. Isn't that cute? And I think she'll tell you too, it was a pretty easy pattern. It is from Tilda, and it's called Kitschy Friends. Kitschy. Kitschy Friends. So thank you, Miss Mary. Thank you. Oh, I love deviled eggs too. You know, I'll have to make some of those this week. What a great thing to have in the hot weather. All right, so thank you, Miss Mary. And then, oh, Mare, beautiful, lives out in sunny California. Look at these amazing plants that they grow. And she lives somewhere near the whole, it's a big area, the big San Francisco Bay area. And they really do have some amazing plants that do well there. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. And I forgot to ask her if it has a nice aroma. And then here is, now she told me what this was. She even told me last week and I forgot again. Oh, I love that. And I think it's not lavender. I think, oh, I know what it is. It's sage. There we go. Sage. I remembered, Miss Mare. Whoops. That's the same picture, just upside down. But I love seeing what you have where you live. And I feel like I learn something too each time. Okay. Here we've got 2 new pictures from Miss Marcia Hunn. And I've shown you this one before, where she made this wonderful cloth basket. In fact, you know what? How about maybe I can get Marcia Hunn to give me some tips and hints, and maybe next week we can make a little one as a fun little thing. And it's a fabric basket, and look, I love the yo-yo buttons. So she made a new one this week, and look at this. And I bet you'll never guess what she's holding that basket down, because it was a windy day. That's petrified wood. How cool is that? I've heard of it. I've never seen it. So, I remember learning about it in school and thinking, wood that turns into stone? But I love how coordinated. She really puts care into her baskets. And we have one more of this to show you. I love the buttons and the yo-yos. Everything coordinates. Here it is. Oh, looks like she had a leftover button she put inside. But isn't that wonderful? And I can show you a little hint too, because the time I made a basket, I left the seams inside. I just stitched them straight down and left them open. And that way you could put pencils and things in the little corner seams. So I'll try to remember to show you that too. But oh, this is so cute. I love that. And what a neat way to decorate a room, because you have the fabric and you can make it match the room. So Marcia Hunn, I will be talking to you this week to get some more specifics, because it's been ages since I did one. Then our last person, we've got some wonderful images from our, oops, let me get it right. Oh, I love it. I love these. And this is from our Cheryl Hogan, and she's a Michigander, and she marches for women's breast cancer health. And a busy lady. Look at this class she took. These collage quilts are something else. Oh, and look at the way this is quilted. That way you can make a really cool grid design, but also you're sewing down all the pieces so nothing gets lost. So remember that. You can turn it, the stitching down, you can turn into a design statement. And this, she took this class, and now I have forgotten, let me see. Hold on, quilted by. She took a class, and oh man, I can't read the words. But she took a class, and look at that. That is exquisite. And then her quilting group had a show display. But isn't that absolutely gorgeous? So way to go, Miss Cheryl Hogan. There she is with her 2 quilts. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, now I will come back to the main screen. And if you have any further questions, I just thought I'd tell you cherries are in season, which means I can afford them. So, because I don't eat them when the price gets too high, but I sure do love them. And thank you to, I'm trying to think, was it Marcia Hahn that gave me some advice? I love when y'all write, tell me little things you've heard, health things or garden things. And I will try to take pictures of my garden this week because I have now planted my pumpkins and my squash and green beans and tomatoes and bell peppers. Can't wait for those, especially the squash. I have a squash recipe that is heavenly, heavenly. All right, everyone, thank you for spending this time with me. I'm going to look and just make sure. Thank you for all your kind comments. I love that you chat together. And no, Mary, you can put whatever color in the center of the flower you want, I promise. But thank you all for joining. I don't see the cute lady that was here last week, but I hope she'll come back. She might have gotten very busy. I understand summer is a busy time. But if I missed welcoming any of you by name, I apologize, but it has been wonderful to have you here. So, I will definitely work on, do the last little touches of the Birdies on a Wire. I will get the Mosaic quilt pattern put on our group. If you don't belong to our group, no problem. Send me an email and I'll attach it and send it right back to you. And so I'll work on the Mosaic and have all my pieces cut out by next week so I can show you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So I will have that to show you, and you can do whatever flower you want, or you can, in fact, you know what? I'll have this pattern. You don't have to make it sunflowers. You can make it dahlias. You can, whatever, zinnias, whatever makes you happy. So I just like to give you little things to kind of, yes, it is a gorgeous fabric basket. So, and Marcia Florum, thank you for Marcia and Miss Joe, wonderful, wonderful moderators. And hopefully soon I'll get in the supplies needed for the paper bead rollers, and that'll be fun. New thing to do, and I'll get my stuff together to give you a little paper bead demonstration. Have a good week. Do something special just for you. Please stay cool. Do not take chances. We can't handle the heat anymore like we did when we were all young kids. But thank you to everyone. And Bonnie, I will send you that bracelet. So everybody, take good care. Thank you for spending this time with me. Y'all are the best.